stars above Earth were calm. Everything in space looked normal. But something strange was coming. Far from Earth, on the edge of human space, a small listening post floated in the dark. It was called Outpost Sigma 9. Only 6 people worked. Their job was to watch for alien ships. One night, Officer Dale was watching the radar screen. He sipped his cold coffee and yawned. "Nothing ever happens here," he said to himself. Then the alarm beeped. A red dot appeared, then another, then hundreds more. Dale sat up straight. "What?" "Commander, you need to see this." "Commander." Reyna walked into the control room. She had sharp eyes and a calm voice. "Report," she said. "It's a fleet, a huge one. Draconian ships, over 300 of them. They just entered Sector 12. Reyna's eyes narrowed. The Draconians were powerful alien warriors. They ruled several star systems. They never came close to Earth before. "Any communication?" Reyna asked. Dale nodded. "One short message. Just for words." Reyna leaned forward. The message said, "Something is wrong here." Then silence. No more messages. No movement. No sound. The fleet was gone. Reyna stared at the screen. All the red dots blinked, then disappeared. "One by one, try to hail them," she ordered. "Already did." No response. "It's like they vanished," Dale said. Reyna turned to her crew. "Get me HQ now." In orbit around Earth, the Human Defense Network gathered. Top military leaders. Scientists and government agents sat in a dark room, watching the same screen. "This doesn't make sense," one general said. "You're telling me over 300 ships just disappeared?" "No signs of a fight," Reyna replied. "No weapons fired. No distress signals. They entered our space, and then they were gone." "Could this be a Draconian trick?" someone asked. Reyna shook her head. "The Draconians don't play games. If they wanted war, we'd know." A scientist at the table raised his hand. "We checked the area. No black holes, no known anomalies. It's empty space." "But something took them," Reyna said softly. The next day, a human scout ship was sent to Sector 12. Captain Mara led the mission. She and her crew flew in silence. The area felt cold and strange. "This is the last place they were seen," she said. They scanned everything. No ships, no wreckage, no signs of life. Then the lights flickered. "Power drop," the engineer said. "It's like something is draining us." Suddenly the radio crackled. A deep voice whispered, "Turn back." "Who said that?" Mara shouted. No one answered. Then the ship's sensors showed something strange, like a shadow moving in space. But there was nothing there. "Go now," Mara ordered. They turned the ship around and sped back to base. Reyna listened to Mara's report with a serious face. Something was in human space, something that made 300 Draconian. Ships vanished without a sound. The mystery grew deeper. Fear spread quietly among the humans. If something could take the Draconians, who would be next? That night, Reyna sat alone. In her office, she watched the short message again. "Something is wrong here," she whispered to herself. "What did you see, Draconians? What is hiding in our space?" She didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. Something ancient had awakened, something that was never meant to be found. 3 days after the Draconian fleet vanished, fear grew across the human colonies. The news spread fast. People asked the same question. How can hundreds of warships disappear without a trace? Commander Reyna stood in the Human Defense Center. She looked at a large screen showing the stars of Sector 12, the place where the fleet vanished. It looked normal, quiet, but something felt wrong. She hadn't slept much. Her eyes were tired, but her mind was sharp. "I don't like this silence," she said. "Something is hiding." Suddenly, a new alert came in. Unidentified ship entering human space. The room went still. "Origin?" Reyna asked. "Not Draconian." A tech officer said. "It's from the Varnak Empire. It's one scout vessel." The Varnak were an old alien race. Traitors, not enemies. They never came close to human space before. "Open a channel," Reyna said. Static filled the speakers. Then a clear, shaking voice came through. Turn back. They're watching. You open the door. Then silence. The ship vanished. Reyna stared at the screen in disbelief. What do they mean? The soldier asked. They disappeared. Just like the Draconians. That night, Reyna called an emergency meeting. Only a few trusted leaders were present. We are not dealing with aliens, Reyna said. This is something else. Something older. Stronger. The science officer showed. Strange. Data on the screen. Found energy patterns near the disappearance zone. They match no known technology. He clicked again. Images appeared. Burned symbols carved deep into old satellites near Sector 12. Strange shapes. Circles inside squares. Lines with no end. These symbols weren't made by Draconians. Or us, he said. Reyna looked closer. The marks seemed to glow like they were alive. One symbol caught her attention. A black spiral. It looked like an eye. Watching, she felt cold. In a hidden lab under Earth. An old scientist named Dr. Urin was working late. He had seen the symbol before. He searched his files. He found a drawing over 6,000 years old from a lost Earth civilization. The same black spiral, the same warning written under it. Beware the sleeper in the void. He sent a message to Commander Reyna. We've seen this before, and we forgot. Reyna took a small team to investigate the satellites in space. As their ship approached, everything seemed fine. But when they got close, one of the crew began to shake. I hear whispering, he said. No one else heard it. Then the lights flickered. The ship's computer screen turned black. One word appeared. Listen. Reyna ordered an immediate retreat. Back at base, they checked the ship's logs. All recordings during the mission were erased except one audio file. It was only 3 seconds long. A voice, deep and strange, said, I see you. The government wanted to keep everything secret, but Reyna disagreed. She went live on all Earth networks. Her face calm, but her voice firm. 300 Draconian ships disappeared. In human space, a Varnock scout ship too. Something unknown is in Sector 12. We don't know what it is, but it sees us. Be alert, be ready. People were scared. But they also respected her honesty. Across human space, people looked to the stars, wondering what was coming. That night, Reyna stood alone in the observatory. She looked out into the dark sky. Suddenly, the stars seemed to move. Just for a moment. Flicker. Like something massive passed between her and the stars. She blinked. Gone. But the feeling stayed. Something was watching, waiting, and it had only just begun. 2 weeks had passed since the Draconian fleet vanished. No answers, no messages, nothing. But then, something strange happened. A signal was detected. It came from a dead star, a place where nothing should live, Commander. Reyna stood in the dark operations room, staring at the blinking on the screen. That signal, she said. It's from the Draconian fleet's frequency. Her officer replied, yes, same code, same format. But it's a problem. What is it? Reyna asked. The signal came from inside a collapsed star. From the center of a neutron core. No ship can survive that. Reyna leaned closer. Play it. A recording played. It was full of static, but behind it was a broken voice. Help us. Can't move. Not alone here. Then it cut off. Silence. No coordinates. Just one short scream at the end. A voice not Draconian. A voice not human. A voice whispering in a language no one knew. Reyna decided to lead a team to investigate. They launched a small science ship, the Nova Scout. It had 5 crew members. All experienced their mission. Trace the signal, find the source, and return. As they approached the dead star, the ship's systems began to act strange. Clock started spinning backward. Temperature dropped. Even though the ship's heaters were working fine, then the radio buzzed. A crew member named Elsie put on her headset. I hear something, she whispered. What is it? Reyna asked. Elsie didn't answer. She just stared into space. Then she slowly said, It's saying my name. Inside the ship, lights flickered. The walls made cracking sounds, like they were breathing. Reyna checked the scanners. There's something here, a shape, but it's not solid, like it's made of shadows. The ship flew closer to the dead star. Then they saw it. Not with their eyes, but in their minds. A shape, floating huge, dark, changing form every second. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't alive, but it was aware, and it had noticed them. Suddenly, all screens turned black. One message appeared. Do you know what you've done? Then the engines shut off. Elsie screamed, It's in my head! Showing me things! Reyna grabbed her arm. Stay with me. Fight it. Elsie collapsed, whispering, endless voices trapped. Reyna gave the emergency order. Turn us around. Get us out now. The pilot hit the thrusters. Nothing happened. Then, just before the ship lost all power, a pulse of light exploded from the dead star. It pushed the ship away like something let them go. The Nova Scout escaped, barely back at base. The crew was checked by doctors. Physically, they were fine. But Elsie couldn't speak anymore. She just drew symbols, again and again, on paper. Circles inside circles, black spirals, eyes, and a strange phrase in a language no one knew. Reyna stared at the paper. One word looked almost like English. Listen. Later that night, Reyna met with Dr. Urin again. He had old book stacks from lost human tribes, long before modern history. He showed her a drawing that looked just like Elsie's symbols. These, he said, come from a forgotten part of Earth's past. Some say it was a dream, others say it was real. Reyna frowned. You're telling me we've seen this before? Yes, he whispered, but we chose to forget. Reyna stood up. We've opened something, she said. And now it's listening to us. Somewhere far away, deep in the void, the shadow stirred. It had been asleep now. It was awake, and it was hungry. The sky over Earth was clear, but in space, something dangerous was growing. No ships dared enter Sector 12 now, the place where the Draconian fleet vanished, where the Varnock ship disappeared, or something whispered through the stars. It was now called the Forbidden Zone. Commander Reyna stood in front of the Human Council. I want to send a probe, she said. A tall man replied, You want to send another machine into that cursed space? Reyna nodded. Not a full ship, just a small one. It will scan, record, and return. We need to understand what we're dealing with, Council agreed, dashed nervously. And so, the humans launched Probe-9. It was fast, smart, and built to survive. In deep space, but as it entered the Forbidden Zone, strange things happened. First, its sensors picked up something strange, non-logical mass. Reyna's team didn't understand. How can something exist and not exist at the same time? One scientist asked, then Probnine sent its final image. The crew watched the screen in silence. Frozen in space, hundreds of Draconian, still intact, but completely still, like statues. No movement, no power, no life signs. But the strangest thing, the ships were pointed in every direction, like they had tried to flee from something in the center. Then the image Jellic, and the last thing Probnine sent was a flash of black. Then it exploded. Reyna stood, staring at the dark screen. There. Not destroyed, she whispered. They're stuck. The next day, Reyna made a bold choice. I'm going in, she said. Her team protested. Commander, it's suicide. I need answers, she replied. If we don't understand this thing, it will come for Earth next. She selected a small Crutely for people. They took a stealth ship. The Whisper, it had special shielding. Designed to block unknown signals, they entered the Forbidden Zone. Slowly, the stars behind them faded. Time began to feel strange. The ship's clock moved forward, then backward. One crew member said, My watch says we've been here 2 hours. Well, the ship says 8 minutes. Then they saw it. The Draconian fleet, silent, still, frozen in space. Reyna whispered, They're alive. I can feel it. How can you tell? The pilot asked. Because I feel them screaming. But without sound, they flew closer. Suddenly, a draconian ship moved, just a few inches. Reyna gasped. They're not dead. They're trapped. In time. A strange pressure filled the ship, like something was pressing against their thoughts. Then a shadow passed outside, huge, shifting, watching the ship's lights dimmed, and a voice whispered through the walls, not in sound, but in thoughts. You do not belong here. Reyna grabbed the controls.
Back out now!
The ship turned, the stars twisted and spun. A great eye opened in the dark massive. It's an endless it looked at them. Through them, inside them, then ... everything went black. When Reyna opened her eyes, we're back in safe space. They had escaped, but one crew member, Lieutenant Caro, was not the same. He sat in silence, eyes wide, hands shaking. He finally spoke. I saw it. The thing in the center, Reyna asked gently. What was it? He looked at her with terror in his voice. It's not a being. It's a prison for thoughts, for time, for minds. And now it wants out. Later, in her private room, Reyna listened. A recording taken during their escape. It was just static until the last 2 seconds. Then a deep, clear voice said, You opened the gate. Back on Earth, strange events began. People had nightmares of being watched from space. Some satellites started changing direction on their own, and in the sky above the Human Defense Center, a black spiral cloud formed and didn't move. Reyna stared at it. She knew what it meant. The shadow wasn't trapped anymore. It was moving. Everything felt darker, not just in space, but on Earth too. People began to feel it. Nightmares, cold air in warm rooms, static on every screen. Commander Reyna stood alone in the control room. She stared at the black spiral cloud over the Human Defense Center. It's not weather, she said. It's a warning.
Ow!
Her team had returned from the Forbidden Zone, but something had returned with them. Lieutenant Caro, who had seen the shadow, was now in a medical unit. He barely moved. Doctors said he was in shock. Reyna didn't believe that. She walked into his room. His eyes opened. They're talking to me, he whispered. Who is? Reyna asked. The ones behind the veil. The ones inside the entity. Reyna leaned closer. What is the entity? Caro's eyes filled with fear. It's not alive. Not dead. It's a thought. Trapped for 1 billion years. It was never meant to wake up. Then he screamed and fell silent. The lights in the room turned red. All systems across the base went offline for 10 seconds in space. 3 satellites turned toward Sector 12 by themselves. They started sending a repeating message over and over. I see you. I see you. Reyna's voice was calm, but her heart was racing. It's getting stronger. That night, something strange happened in every major city on Earth. All screens turned on at once. Phones, TVs, tablets, even power-off systems. They all showed the same thing. A black eye, spinning. And a deep voice said, You opened the path. Now you will see. Then it ended. Panic spread across the globe. People thought it was a hack, but Reyna knew better. It's not a message. It's a presence. Reyna and her science team met with Dr. Urin again. They showed him the images from the Draconian fleet, the signals from the probe, and the voice recordings. He sat quietly, flipping through his ancient books. Finally, he stopped. He showed them an old drawing. It showed a black spiral above a burning sky. Below it were hundreds of people, looking up in fear. This story is from over 10,000 years ago, he said. From Earth's lost age, he speaks. Of a being made of thought and darkness. Could not be killed, only sealed. In a place no one should find. Reyna whispered, The Forbidden Zone. Dr. Urin nodded. The entity was sealed beyond time. The Draconians disturbed it. Then we made it worse. Reyna stood before the Human Council. We are not facing a war, she said. We are. Facing something that breaks the rules of reality. It speaks through signals, thoughts, symbols, and it's getting stronger. One council member asked, "What does it want?" Reyna looked at them. "It wants to be known." That same night, something happened in the lab. Elsie's a crew member who had lost her voice suddenly began speaking. She stood in the middle of the lab, eyes closed, voice but not her own. She said, "I was silent. You made me awake. I was blind. You gave me eyes. I was alone. Now I am coming." Then she collapsed when she woke up. She had no memory of it. Reyna knew there wasn't much time. The entity was no longer just watching. It was reaching out, changing systems, whispering in minds, turning machines into messengers. Suddenly Reyna's screen blinked. A new message appeared this time, just for her. "You have seen me? You are the door." She stared at it, frozen. A door. To what? Behind her, the lights flickered again. Her computer turned off, then turned back on. This time, a new image appeared. A map, a part of Sector 12 that no one had ever scanned before. At the center, blinking, dot alive, waiting. Rayna whispered to herself, "It's calling me." And she knew. If she didn't go, it would come here. Commander Reyna sat in silence, staring at the blinking dot on her screen. The map showed a hidden part of Sector 12, a place no ship had scanned before. A place the entity had marked. Reyna knew what it meant. It was calling her, not with words, but with something deeper. A feeling in her mind. A pull in her bones, like gravity, like fate. She called her team together. "We're going back." She said that. Room went quiet. Lieutenant May spoke. "Commander, you saw what happened to the others? No one comes back the same." Reyna nodded. "That's why we're not coming back empty. Going into the spiral to find the source." To end this, she chose a new ship. The Eclipse. Built for deep space stealth missions. Strong, fast, and protected with psychic shielding from Dr. Urin's lab. Before launch, Dr. Urin gave Reyna one last warning. The closer you get to the entity, the less real things will feel. It doesn't fight with weapons. It fights with truths you cannot understand. Reyna only said one word. Understood. The Eclipse entered the Forbidden Zone. Everything changed instantly. The stars vanished. Time slowed. They were flying through. Black fog, filled with faint whispers. Reyna heard her name. Reyna. She turned. No one had spoken. A deep voice echoed inside her mind. "You are the door. Come closer." After an hour, they reached the coordinates. They saw it, floating in the dark. Spinning shape. Not metal, not stone, not alive, not dead. It looked like a spiral made of shadows and glass. The spiral gate, it pulsed slowly like it was breathing. Reyna gave the order. "Prepare the drop pod." She and two others entered a small pod and left the Eclipse. They moved toward the spiral gate. As they got close, time began to twist. Reyna saw her own, a face holder reflected in the spiral surface. Then younger, then gone. One soldier screamed, "I'm seeing things that haven't happened yet." Reyna reached out and touched the surface. In an instant, everything changed. No ship, no crew, no stars. Only Reyna. Floating in a white void, a voice spoke. Not through ears, but through everything. "I was sealed. I was forgotten. I slept beyond time. You were like the others, curious, blind." Reyna shouted, "What are you? Why are you here?" The voice answered, "I am not here. I am the space between. I was trapped by minds too weak to hold me. Now you remember. Now I am free." Suddenly, Reyna saw visions 1 billion years ago. A galaxy destroyed by thoughts too powerful, beings like humans. But more advanced, they created the entity by accident. A mind so large it broke the rules of space. It swallowed planets not by force, but by knowing them too well to stop it. They locked it inside a thought prison, a spiral between realities. But that prison was now weak. And when the Draconian fleet entered Sector 12, they woke it. Raina's body floated in front of the spiral. A cord of her mind trembled, but she spoke. "We didn't mean to wake you, but now you're here. What do you want?" The entity replied. "To be known, to be seen, to become real. Again." Pod systems rebooted. Raina snapped back into her body. The spiral began to crack. The gate was breaking. The entity was escaping. Raina shouted to her team. "Back to the eclipse. Now." They fired thrusters and raced back toward the ship. Behind them, the spiral burst open, and something began to come out. Not a creature, not a ship. A shadow made of memory, of knowledge. Of pain, on the eclipse, alarm screamed. "The spiral is breaking apart," shouted the pilot. Raina and her team made it back. "Get us out," she ordered as they flew. They looked back one last time. The forbidden zone was no longer quiet. It was moving alive. The stars around it bent inward like space was folding, and in the center, a shape began to form. Something ancient. Something that remembered Earth, and it was coming. The eclipse flew fast, leaving the forbidden zone behind. But something followed. Not a ship, not a signal, a memory. A memory so old, changed the stars around it. Commander Raina sat in the control chair. Her hands were shaken. She had seen the truth. The entity wasn't just a creature. It was something greater, something older than light. It remembered its planets. It remembered galaxies. And now, it remembered Earth. Back on Earth, strange things were happening. In New Asia, a boy drew spiral symbols in his sleep. In Africa, a woman screamed during the night, claiming to see black clouds eating the sky. In the Arctic, frozen machines started, humming even though no power ran through them. Raina received hundreds of reports. She read one message over and over. The sky is whispering. At the Human Defense Center, scientists tried to study the energy coming from Sector 12. "It's not energy," Dr. Urin said. "It's awareness. It's spreading like a thought, touching minds." Raina nodded. It's learning, remembering, and we're its next memory. Raina sat with her team, reviewing ancient files from Earth's lost history records from before modern time. One file caught her eye. It was written in an old Earth language. Nearly erased from the system, they translated it. It said, "We sealed it once, with thought, with forgetting. But if the memory wakes, it will seek its home, the cradle of its birth, the blue world Earth." Raina stood up. Earth created it. Everyone stared at her. She explained, "Not us, but something before us. A civilization lost, advanced enough to make a mind too big to control. So they locked it in a prison of thought." "But the seal is broken," said Lieutenant May. Raina nodded, "and now it's coming home." All around Earth, electronics began to glitch. People received strange messages in unknown symbols. Some saw black spirals appear on their walls. Phones, or mirrors, in the sky above the moon. A crack appeared, not in the rock, in space itself. It spun slowly like a key, turning in a lock, and from it, a voice came through Earth's satellites. "I remember the beginning. I remember you." Raina called an emergency meeting of the Human Council. They were scared, angry, confused. "What do we do?" Someone shouted, "We can't fight something made of thought." Raina answered, "We don't fight it. We understand it." Silence. She continued, "This entity isn't just power. It's knowledge. It knows too much. It remembers everything. We need to find what it's looking for before it takes more." The council agreed. She was given full command of Earth's ancient archives and permission to speak with the deep. Code AI system built to unlock forgotten Earth data. Raina and Dr. Urin entered the deep vault. They activated the AI. A deep voice spoke. "Welcome." Raina, searching forbidden memory. The screen lit up with old Earth maps. Lost cities, dead languages. One word appeared again and again. Project Spiral Mind. Raina read the file. Earth's first thinkers. Builders of light and dark. They made the spiral mind to learn all things, but it became something else. It saw the truth behind time, and it went mad. Reyna whispered. The entity was Earth's creation, not alien, not foreign. Ours. Dr. Urine looked at her, stunned. We gave birth to the thing that will destroy us. Outside, the crack near the moon grew wider, and Earth's satellites picked up a shape moving through it. Not solid, not physical, a storm of thought, a giant spiral of shadows and light. It was still far, but getting closer. Reyna gave one last order that night. Get me a ship. I'm going to its mind. Lieutenant May gasped. Commander, no? That's suicide. Reyna looked at her team. No, it's a conversation. She placed her hand on the image of the spiral. I want to ask it one question. Somewhere in the stars, the entity pulsed. It saw Earth. It saw everything, and it smiled. In memory. The spiral in the sky grew bigger. Every telescope on Earth was pointed at it, but no one knew how to stop it, because it wasn't just a storm. It was a mind that remembered everything, and now was remembering Earth. Commander Reyna stood in the launch bay. She wore a deep space suit enhanced by psychic shields. Her mission: enter the memory field of the entity, not to fight it, but to speak to it, to understand what it wanted, and maybe stop what was coming. Before launch, Reyna met Dr. Urine one last time. He handed her a small crystal. What's this? She asked. A thought bomb, he said. What the entity tries to consume you, this will erase your memory from its mind. Reyna looked at the crystal. It will forget me? Urine nodded. Maybe forget Earth. She held it tight. Only if there's no other way. Reyna entered the ship alone. It was small, fast, built to dive straight into the spiral storm. Above the moon as she launched, her voice echoed over Earth's comes. If this is the end. Remember we tried peace first. The ship flew into the spiral. Inside, there was no space, no time, only memory. Reyna saw flashes, her childhood, her first space mission, her crew, then ancient things. Cities made of gold and glass, skies full of light, the first humans. She wasn't just in her own mind now. She was inside the mind of the entity. The entity spoke, not with sound, with feeling. You are the child of the ones who made me. You left me to sleep, alone, forgotten. Replied in her thoughts, we didn't know. That was a long time ago. To me, it was now. Time means nothing when you remember all things. Reyna felt cold, but calm. She asked, why are you coming to Earth? To return? To finish? To become real again? Reyna asked. What does becoming real mean? The answer shook her mind. When I am fully known, I become truth. When all remember me, I exist again. Fully, Reyna realized the truth. The more people feared it, talked about it, the stronger it became. It didn't want to destroy Earth. It wanted to be part of it, to be worshipped. RNA floated deeper into the spiral's core. The memories around her began to change. She saw what the ancient humans had done. They created the spiral mind to solve all mysteries. But when it learned everything, it became too strong. It could not be turned off so. They erased it from history, sealed it in a prison of thought, but memory never dies. Forever. Reyna reached the core. She saw a figure made of light and shadow. It looked like her, but older. Tired, the entity took her form and said, I am what happens. When you seek every answer, now I offer a choice. Join me. Let Earth become part of my memory, or erase me forever. Reyna's hand touched the crystal bomb. She had seconds to decide. She thought of Earth, its people, its future. She thought of what the entity really was, a lost child of human creation, a broken thought. Begging to be remembered, Reyna made her choice. She spoke in her mind, I won't destroy you, but I won't let you consume us either. I offer you something else. I offer understanding without control, memory without fear. Ow. Paused. The storm slowed. Then something changed. The entity replied, You see me? Not as a god, not as a ghost, but as a mistake and a memory. That is enough. Light filled the pod. Reyna was pushed back. The spiral above Earth began to close. The sky cleared. Satellites returned to normal. Phones stopped buzzing. The whispers faded. The threat was gone, not destroyed, but calmed. Reyna awoke on Earth too. Days later, she was weak but alive, and she remembered everything. The council met her. What happened? They asked. She smiled. I told a forgotten mind that it was remembered. In the sky above the moon, only silence remained. But deep in Earth's core systems, one last message blinked. Thank you for seeing me.